Welcome to Journey of an Aesthete podcast, and we are most fortunate and blessed to have our guest, Shelley McKechnie. Did I do that? Just your name?
Shelley
McKechnie.
Yes, thank you.
Shelley McKechnie, and you are on our show for a couple of reasons, more than one reason. One reason is that we've never had an editor on our show. So it was important to me to have at least a book editor on the show. And you have edited a collection. And also, of course, since I live in Western North Carolina, in Weaverville, we were affected by the Hurricane Helene. And I mainly know you through your book, Stronger Than the Storm, which is a beautiful volume of all kinds of artwork, essays, reflections on this event that occurred last September. We're coming on the 1 year since the hurricane, but we don't have to talk about that at the outset. We could talk about whatever you want. You are an editor. Did you want to discuss how you came to do this book in particular, or how you came to be a book editor, or anything you want to say about your personal biography, Shelley?
Thank you, Mitch. Thanks for having me on the show. Yeah. Really a pleasure to be here. Sure. Talking about the book, the idea for the book came really right after the storm. As you're in the area, so you know that it was a devastating event, and the days and weeks and months really after the storm have been disorienting.
Oh yeah.
And those first few days were particularly tough. As the news would come in, we were all fairly isolated in our own neighborhoods. We couldn't travel, but you'd hear news, word of mouth from neighbors who had heard some of the tough things that had happened in the area. Yeah. And certainly in our neighborhood got hit pretty hard too. And it seemed like we were thrown into an alternate reality just immediately. And so I had a really hard time just processing, like most people. I would spend my days out in the neighborhood trying to help neighbors and trying to cut down trees and clear people's driveways, and not cut down trees, chop up the trees that were down. And clear people's driveways and check on neighbors, and try to help, like, plug holes in people's houses, and so that kept us busy during the day. But at night I'd come home and I had a hard time just processing everything, right? Just the things that we were all seeing and hearing. And so the way I process things is you might imagine, I write.
Oh, of course, yes.
And just to try to keep my head from spinning, I would write. And so I didn't really think anything was going to come of the writing, but it helped me process.
Sure.
And I realized that other people were probably doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I happen to be part of the writers community here in Western North Carolina. And so I know a lot of writers. And so it was the writers I reached out to first. I was without power, as most people were, for about 2.5 weeks. And I had to wait until the power came back.
Sure.
And I reached out to people and I said, hey, are you processing too? Are you turning to your craft to try to find equilibrium?
Right.
And if you are, send me what you've written. And then I later expanded it to artists. Send me what you've created to try to process the storm.
Yeah.
I had this vision. I said, I'll put it all in a book.
Wow.
And we'll publish it.
Yeah.
And then we'll donate all the profits, 100% of it.
Oh yeah.
To the recovery effort.
Oh yeah. Well, that's. I mean, I'm not. Of course, it's your book. I'm no expert, but I love the book.
Thank you.
I have a copy of it, and of course I found out about it because my girlfriend had jewelry in the gallery where your book was sold. I had never seen it before. I picked this up. What is this? Stronger Than the Storm. And I began immediately reading pieces by people in that book. And some of them are painters. Some of them are paintings in the gallery I saw. I thought, wow.
Yeah.
I thought this was really, really great. And without knowing any of the people really, but I'm glad the book is in the world. I'm glad, that you got that idea. When did the idea came to you? Soon, right after the power was restored, or during the power? Or we were all without power for different periods of time. Some people a month without power.
Yeah. The idea for me came while I still had no power.
While you still had no power, okay.
The days after the storm, as I was writing, because I felt compelled to write.
Right.
To try to personally process. It's a mass trauma that we all experience, no matter what level of
sure
a person had to their home or property or loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you didn't have any personal property damage or anyone you knew got hurt, it's still a trauma. And so the idea came right after. Really, in the days after the storm, I would write by my kitchen window at my kitchen table with no lights. But it wasn't until a few weeks later that I reached out to ask others if they were doing the same thing, because I didn't have any way to communicate with them, because I had no phone service that whole time either.
Sure. That's true. Everybody, of course, experienced different things on those days. It was Thursday and Friday, right?
Right.
It was Thursday and Friday. The thing that what I saw is from where I live was our street out here, Reams Creek, was just an ocean of water that just isn't supposed to be there. I'd never seen that before, because it was a street of, what street is made of, not cement or whatever. I'm used to that. I see that. And then there's just see like a river that's not supposed to be there. And I was just standing with people saying, is that going to come into my house or not? So I just didn't know. Looking at this thing, wondering how far it's going to come. That was my day. Of course, that's, I didn't die. My property wasn't damaged. But the visual shock of that, of seeing water where water is not supposed to be, when there's basically seeing an ocean. Where there was dry cement, a dry road is what was, so it's something,
Yeah.
But it sounds like you have skills. I'm unlike myself, you're somebody that works with trees or landscaping. You're a little bit about how to help neighbors, and that's something. Is that from your background growing up here, or in a rural environment, or just
I wouldn't really say I have skills in that regard. I think it's more out of necessity.
Okay.
That we all helped each other in those times. And so, during those first few months, really, nobody asked, what's your experience level for, cutting?
No, but what I'm saying is that I can't do those things that you did. So I don't have to do.
Oh, okay.
Person, I know nothing about chainsaws or nothing about. So that would be we're all different. I'm just curious, because you are a book editor, so I'm wondering, are you somebody that has a background in doing things of that nature, working with your hands, or gardening, or whatever it might be, or maybe not. Maybe you just jumped in and.
Well, I guess I had a chainsaw, and I had I take care of my own yard, which is on the side of a mountain with a lot of.
That answers my question. I've never had a life I never had a yard. I don't know anything. So that's
okay.
So that's all
necessity. To add equipment, and I'm I'm blessed that I'm able-bodied, and not everybody is, and and everybody helps everybody. I'm not standing here saying,
well, sure,
that I'm unique at all, and that was really the an important aspect of the reaction here in Western North Carolina, that everybody jumped in to help. Like, everybody did. And people came eventually once the roads were cleared. It took, as it took quite a while.
It took a while.
People came in to bring water and food, because with no power, and we had no water for, I don't know how you were, Mitch. Most of the area where I live was without water for 2.5 months. And so, people came from all over.
Well, I was cursed or blessed by being the one town that did have water. So whereas Asheville went for a whole month or something without water, we had functional water before other places. So we got inundated by all these people coming in, of course. But the water we had was not safe. So we had the water, but it was, it was only, you can't drink it. It's very unsafe. And so a lot of what I was doing was, having to carry water from the swimming pool. My girlfriend had a swimming pool. We had to use their water for where they were. So everybody was I guess the thing that's hard for me to talk about is that everybody had such a different situation, but different close together. So I could be here and a mile away. This person would have something, and then a mile away, so in other words, you could have 2 miles apart, and this people would have power and these people wouldn't have power. It was a strange thing. It wasn't like only Asheville, you could say. Asheville was like the one area where everybody seemed to be without water for that long length of time. And there's probably reasons for that, of course. I don't know, but I've spoken too much, but you might know more about that. The difference is how so close together places had different situations.
Well said. And really kind of you to recognize that you had something that other people, that could help other people.
Yeah.
And opened up your resources to others.
Yeah.
And that was happening all over. And it was that part was beautiful.
Yeah.
But yet the underlying trauma was there and is still there, which was the sort of the genesis of the book, that not only might this give the writers and artists a voice, but it's documenting this early reaction to the storm. And I want to be clear, this is not a journalistic book, as you know. The journalists did a fantastic job and really, really helpful to document some of the extreme issues, which there were many. This is a process book. This is a book of, as you know, of artwork and poetry and writing. I was thinking about this, Mitch. If you want to know what happened, right, then you'd ask what happened here in Western North Carolina. You'd ask a journalist, right? They do an excellent job. If you want to know why it happened, you can ask a scientist.
That's true.
But if you want to try to figure out how to process it, ask an artist right?
This is an arts podcast. This podcast is predicated. It has a mission, actually. Our tagline is what it means to be human.
Beautiful.
So it's predicated on the notion that how it feels on the inside is what matters. How that's not just facts and figures, of course. That's our actual experience, and that's kind of the theme of our very show. So that's in your book. Again, that's what I love about your book, is that it had paintings, reproductions of paintings, and it had poems, and it had perspectives of many different people. And it's a great book for that. And I didn't want to get too far. I mean, there's many things we could talk about, and of course there's time, but I did want to ask you how you became an editor, or how you got into that field, if you don't mind talking about that, or if that's, because you did edit this book, and what your journey is with that. I guess what an editor does, in your view, or what an editor doesn't do, or what, that's its own art form, right? So do you have any thoughts about that, or anything that?
Well, I've worn many different hats through my career, including as editor, but I've had other roles as well. And but I enjoy editing. And I knew I had the skill to edit. I have a kind of a combination of skills that made me think I could do this book, that I could publish this book, and I could do it quickly. And that was a tricky thing, to publish it quickly. because I've written chapters for books before, and I've never published a book before.
Okay.
But I've written chapters, and I know I'm lucky to know quite a few people who have published books. And typically it takes years. And I know, like, for the chapters I wrote for books, it's a years-long process. You put your chapter in, and then you get some feedback, right? And then it's a process. And the same was true for friends I knew who had published books. It can be a years-long process.
Yeah.
And I knew I didn't have that. I knew that
Interesting.
the vision for this book was to get it out really quickly to promote healing.
Wow.
Because I knew.
So I guess what you're saying is that it's different from any other project, not just the difference of the awfulness of this hurricane. That's not the only difference. The difference is that it's time sensitive as opposed to other projects you've done.
Exactly right.
And that's because of the nature of the event and also helping people. And that's a consideration, I guess.
It absolutely was. The need, it had a great need. I felt a great need to get this out very, very quickly. So instead of it came out February 18th. So what, about 5 months after the storm?
Yeah.
About 2.5 months after I got water back, it was, I knew it was quick, but I also knew it was important that if I could touch one person, if one person felt a little bit better, if one person found something in the artwork, the poetry or in the essays that it made them feel less alone, or maybe gave voice to something that they were feeling but didn't quite know how to express. That I don't need to tell you, Mitch, that artists and poets and writers have a key ability to distill really big emotions and get them on the page and the canvas. I mean, that's the genius of artists and writers.
That's true.
And I was grateful. So many very, very talented people contributed their work to this book.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I need to get this out quickly because there are thousands of people in pain here. And I mean, you live here, Yeah. And if you I'm old enough to know that if you bury trauma, it's going to come out somewhere, right? You have to kind of work through. It's work to work through trauma. And so I thought, well, this book can sort of help people. Maybe.
Do you mind holding it up so people can?
Oh, sure. Here's the book.
In the storm. It's just that cover is fantastic. I mean, I just, you mentioned about I guess trauma and things in healing, and our art certainly does do that. It does do that, absolutely.
Yeah, the artist, like the designer of this book, there's 33 people contributed to this book, either by their works themselves or by helping proofread things.
Sure.
But the graphic designer is also from the area, and so is the graphic designer. Their name is Lee Davies, and they're really talented, and the person that did the hummingbird is hummingbirds are an important. That's a whole we could go down the you go down that. I don't want to say rabbit hole because it's mixing metaphors, I guess.
Metaphors, yeah. Well, we go down the nest of
there you go.
I mean, it's amazing. Well, I've only learned about hummingbirds this year.
Okay.
I know everybody comes to things when they come to I'm 50. I'm going to be 58, so I mean, I knew what they were, but the beauty only. It's interesting that that's a new thing in my life for hummingbirds. That's not to get too far off topic, but they're incredible. Is there what comes to your mind? Anything you want to talk about? Either any of the contributors, or we're coming upon September. What you want to think about this year and going forward, or anything, or the area, or maybe change the subject entirely and talk about editing editing is a mysterious thing, right? What are some misconceptions people have about editors and what they do, or book editors, or is that a topic that, any thoughts on that, or?
I don't know what misconceptions might be. I know for me, for editing this book, it was cathartic, right? When each of the pieces came in, and I would edit them to make sure, to ensure they would fit into the vision for this book, and reading each one, sitting by myself, editing is a fairly, solitary pursuit. And as I would read each one, I was really impressed by the quality of the work that came in, and thinking, okay, if I'm moved this deeply, just seeing it, then maybe others will benefit from it too.
I mean, I'm so happy to have you on our podcast. I mean, if I could, I would have everybody in that book in a big round table. I don't know how the logistics of that.
That'd be fun.
I really, really love that. It's just, I only ask about editing because it is something. It's important, right? I mean, editing is an art form, right? I mean.
Oh, sure, right? Because
editing are very,
Yeah, you need to keep the voice of the writer, right? And I keep my own voice out, of course. Editors do that. They keep their own voice out. And with the book, there's so many different viewpoints, right? They come from different areas geographically in North Carolina. Everybody in the book experienced the storm.
That's right.
They came from different areas and they came from different perspectives. Mm-hmm. So as an editor, my job is not to impose my own voice on them. That would be the worst thing. It's really
that's getting closer to the art of editing. So you talked about preserving the voice. So how kind of a strange question. How do you as an editor go about preserving that and editing? How is that? Any thoughts on? Maybe there are no principles. Maybe it's different for every writer, but I mean, maybe there is a principle that you're like, well, this is what I know. This is how I want to preserve writer Jane or John or Bill, or how, talk a little bit about, if we have time, about that, what that is to preserve that in edit.
Sure, Mitch, there's a bit of alchemy there, right? And my background, I started in journalism.
Okay.
And so I'm used to editing for clarity and brevity. One of my favorite books is Elements of Style.
Strunk and White.
Strunk and White, yeah. And so for me, the process is just reading the piece multiple times before I touch anything. Just trying to absorb the writer's voice, the writer's point of view. Sure. And really internalize that.
Okay.
Through, and then I think, okay, for each suggestion I'd like to make, is this consistent
with the
rest of their piece, with what they're saying and how they're saying it. And for this book, as I edited, I went back and forth with each author, and not so much the poets, you're right, because I don't feel qualified to edit
poetry. It's its own
thing, and but more the essays,
right?
And so then I would ask, I'd make changes. I use Google Docs so that you can see the changes or the suggestions, and I would ask the authors, "Hey, is this okay? Is this what you meant?" Or even I wouldn't suggest a change, but I would just say, "Hey, I'm not sure what you're saying here," or I'm hoping this book is read by people today, so can you clarify what you mean by tunnel road? Describe what a particular road used to be like or supposed to be like. But staying within the sort of those guardrails of what that the writer themselves set forth in terms of their voice, their word choice, their sentence cadence. I didn't want to interrupt any of that. I wanted to stay within each writer's vision, especially for this book, because one of the key things is that this is many voices.
Yes. Well, it's a plurality of voices, and plurality and diversity are good words. They're not. You know, there are some people that want to disparage those concepts, and that's not. Yeah, I'm in the opposite camp from that. We don't celebrate diversity and plurality of voices. So that's important. Is there anything? If I ask you kind of an off the wall question, maybe what was there a book that made you fall in love with prose or writing? A book or a time or age or I mean, books is a big subject, but I mean, is there?
Wow, that's a great question. Thinking back to when I was a kid, I guess. Well, like many people, I loved Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird, of course.
When did you first read that?
I must have been in 7th or 8th grade, I think. Okay. And such a neat thing about novels, right? You can reread something decades later, and get all different things from it that you got initially, and find new things every time you read a book. Yeah, that's beautifully written, and quite a treatise on leadership, really. I think
that's true.
Which is there's a whole there's a whole lexicon of right, but that maybe you wouldn't put that in leadership books, but I would.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Did you read the follow-up that came out a few years back, the sequel, or did you read that novel?
I started to. Yeah, and I did not finish it. They call it Once a Watchman or something.
Yeah. When did that come on? The mid 2000s, I think.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that I didn't, and everybody has their own thing. For me, if the author didn't want to publish it,
that's a whole other that's a whole other consideration, of course. I mean,
like it's almost like respecting
the wishes of the artist.
Yeah, and not to knock anything. I know a lot of people found it interesting, and it's a window into her writing. And in that sense, it's interesting, but it wasn't something I chose to finish.
Well, that's an ethical issue too. I mean, of course, that's if somebody who's not a Harper Lee scholar, not a Harper Lee expert, maybe they don't. Depends on how. People read novels for different reasons. I mean, of course, the novel's the important thing, right?
Sure is. Yeah.
What I mean is that the person who's 8 years old, I'm just picking a random age, reading a description of Atticus Finch or Scout, that experience is what the novel's about. It's not necessarily about what Harper Lee had for breakfast, or what I mean is that's
right.
And I mean, it could even be the great Mulligan picture. There's Gregory Peck and the film from the 60s. There's that too, which is an art, great film. Yeah, just it's the things that make us feel things. That's what art is. I mean, if experience, again, that can't be captured by facts and figures, or news or news is very important, of course, but
having the artist translate, right?
Yeah.
In a way, they're translators, or in West African culture, they're griots, right?
That's right.
And they bring stories down and put their own spin on them, and relay them to others. And that's what artists and poets and writers do. And when I think about when I thought about this huge traumatic event that happened to us here, it made a lot of sense to me to reach out to the creatives to help interpret, to help us get through this, to help us. And as you know, Western North Carolina is quite a hotbed for creativity.
It is.
we're blessed with many talented writers and authors and writers and poets rather and artists and the artists themselves. If you look at their artist statements in the book, they did a beautiful job describing their process of creating art. Each time I opened my email, it was like a gift, right? To see.
Well, one of the things I feel about this book is I feel like I wish there were more books like it in the world.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
In other words, more books, not necessarily on the subject of a natural disaster necessarily, or even on the subject of a crisis, but just books with a lot of. So I'm talking about the aesthetics of how it was made. Really beautiful. I wish there were more books in the world like this. This is something. I think it's the balance of the visual and the prose are bringing together. Because as you know, in culture, there's often a separation between the painting people and the book people, and the video. There's often this, and your book dissolves those separate boundaries. I think it's great because it's visual. There's also prose as words. So, just thought off the top of my head, that's one of the things I liked about it.
That's true. There aren't too many. Well, I don't know. Maybe there are a lot that I just don't know about them, but
yeah.
It made sense for this book.
I thought that's a new genre. A new genre you can. That's a thing. Is there anything else, Shelley, that you want to say? Because even good things like this episode have to come to an end and conclude. Unfortunately, is there anything you want to say about being an editor, being a writer, writing books, ecology going forward, or anything that comes to your mind? It's a big question, I know, but.
It's a big question. Well, I want to shout out to all the people that did such good work here, and when we chose who to give our profits to, it was really hard because the only parameters I set was that we need to be giving it to a recognized nonprofit and it was local to Western North Carolina, and who's helping in the recovery efforts and has been helping. And so everybody in the book voted. We had a
okay.
Yeah, we did I think it was a Survey Monkey I did.
Okay.
that or maybe a Google Forms.
Okay.
Where I just sent out. First I asked everybody, okay, please nominate somebody to give the money to.
Oh wow.
And I collated all the nominations, and then I turned around and I said, okay, these are all the ones who are nominated. Now everybody gets one vote. And there were so many terrific organizations, really, who stepped up to help out. And the one that got the most votes, we'll be giving the money to them at an event in a couple of weeks. Was this organization I'm sure you know called Manna Food Bank, and they're a story of resilience themselves. I live not very far from where their headquarters used to be, and it was destroyed in the storm. And destroyed. It's right on the Swananoa River, and it was. And but they got up and running so quickly that they got a new location and were feeding neighbors really right away.
Right.
Neighbors who may have lost everything, neighbors who lost their jobs, who lost all kinds of things, and Manna Food Bank stepped up and continues to help just make sure people are fed, which is really a basic need. So we'll be giving. They're so good at what they do that the donation we give, they tell me, will be able to supply more than 20,000 meals to neighbors, and that's thanks to the artists and poets and essayists in the book, as well as to Manna Food Bank's ability to help. They're how efficient they are. So I want to thank them, and we'll be doing so publicly in a few weeks.
Oh, you will. Well, that's important that people come to that and come out to that.
I can. Yes, we'll have the event actually in the gallery of one of the artists who's in the book. The gallery had been destroyed.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And, has now been rebuilt.
It is being rebuilt, yeah.
It has been. It's built. It was flooded. The walls stayed. It's a little bit higher up in the River Arts District, and but the artist was able to rebuild with a lot of help, and that's the location of our event to gift Mana Food Bank with all the profits from the book.
Shelley, I want to thank you for your generosity of time and as well as spirit and being on our podcast, because it's important and I really appreciate it very much. And the book is Stronger Than the Storm, and
hold it up here. Yeah.
But it's important, and I really thank you immensely.
Thank you, Mitch. Thanks for having me on, and for opening up your heart too.
Absolutely. Thank you.